What's up, everybody? Timothy Moore here, aka the Clarity Doctor. We are here having another episode of Hear My Voice. This is a platform where I have dope artists come on board and they share their vision, their voice, and their story. All right, y'all. I don't know how many of y'all remember, but growing up, one of the things we heard often as children, especially in the Black community, was speak when you're spoken to. Be seen, but don't be heard. We learned early to suppress our voices. So now, as adults, it's difficult for us to actually open up, to share, to express ourselves. So, this platform is especially for artists to giving you an opportunity for your voice to be heard. Tonight, or this morning, or whenever you're watching it, we got a dope individual that we'll be bringing on board. We're going to hear from him. He's going to drop some bars for your hearing. He hails out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Dwight Thompson, aka the Right Warrior. You hear what I'm saying? The Right Warrior. So that means he goes to war with those words. So y'all get ready because we're gonna have an amazing interview. He's gonna drop some powerful words of purpose into your hearing, and then we just gonna do it. So he'll be up next here in a few seconds after these messages. Acquire, master, and launch your vision today with Vision Writers USA.
Blessings. Do you know what the hardest thing about life, anything in general, is? Knowing when it's your time to shine. Give me a second. I'll be right back. At the age of 13, I came down with the pox, burning up like gasoline. I couldn't use my voice box to say the hole in my socks was bigger than the room I was sleeping in, but smaller than the lie I was living in, with a father who didn't bother to care for me, to speak with me. All he said was not to use profanity. All he gave to me was a Bible outlined in red, so I was speaking in tongues from the head instead of being dead. Another brother died, and I cried, thinking of all those who refused to let Christ inside. What's hard? Living a life without Jesus Christ or God, or a life where everyone thinks that you're odd and should be beaten with a rod or pot spoon or stick or a belt or Timberland boots if you have one. I've yet to see a saint or a sinner escape the light of the sun. I Salah. One love always.
Yes, that is what I'm talking about. I felt that, brother. I felt that. I felt that, and I felt that. Man, what inspired that?
So the crazy thing is, and first of all, thank you for this space and for this platform. Growing up, right, I went through so many different things. Coming from the Caribbean, dealing with hurricanes and poverty and child abuse and neglect and the public school system. As I got older, I realized that never had a major decision point. It was actually a crisis I was going through. So everyone has a crisis crisis of some point at certain reasons, certain systems. You have a crisis of faith. You have a crisis of identity. You have a crisis of belonging. And for me, that faith happened when I was 13 years old and I got the chicken pox. And as everyone will know, the older you are when you capture or you get contaminated with these childhood diseases, the more of an impact it has on your immune system.
Mm-hmm.
So I was lying in bed, coated in herbs and different doctor ointments and remedies, couldn't itch, my body breaking out all over. I was thinking to myself, is this the end? And I do
Mm.
what we all do, right? Whenever we face with a difficult situation, we promise God the world. We
Wow.
say, God, if
Right.
you heal me, I'll be the best Christian ever. I'll be the best Christian girl. I'll be the best Christian boy because we
Right.
need help in that moment.
Mm.
And when I got better, I decided to write about that experience because I felt like if I can capture that moment, perhaps, just perhaps, I will always remember what it means to be committed and to be in my sound mind in spite of adversity. So that poem was written when I was 13 years old,
Wow.
and now it's still relevant. And when I launched my
Wow.
book and my publishing career, that was the first poem I put in the book because I knew that was going to set the tone for how I function and operate as a Christian, as a man, as a father, as a husband, and as a gospel poet.
Mm. Wow. That's so powerful. So before the age of 13, were you already writing?
Yes and no. So I had the
Okay.
beautiful privilege, I call it, to be born and raised to two wonderful parents from the Caribbean, from St. Kitts particularly. And they both instilled in me a great love of reading. So my mother, what she did was she would read to us every night. And that was her routine. My
Yeah.
father, what he
Wow.
did
Read to you every night.
every night without fail. And then what my father did, in his way, he valued education. So he spent about two paychecks and purchased, back in those days, we used to have the encyclopedias that you would buy, about 20 something books that would take up the entire 2 rows of your bookshelf. And he purchased
Yep.
those and
Yep.
he bought those about 4 or 5 boxes beyond packed. So I read those. My mother read to me. And between those two, I read the Bible in its entirety by the time I was 13, 14. I read J.R.R. Tolkien's Silmarillion, which is the precursor to Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit when I was 14, 15. And then from there, I read everything and anything I could get my hands on. Now, the reading led into the writing. So at school,
Mm.
in high school, I had the privilege of having wonderful, wonderful teachers. And I'm going to take a moment because these teachers were so amazing. And I never want to forget how important teachers are to children. So I
Right.
dedicated my poetry book to them. And I'm just going to mention their names real quick. And of course, I missed several, but it is what it is. To all of the hardworking, overwhelmed, passionate teachers everywhere, especially the Corums, the Thompsons, the Sprots, the Bishops, the Greens, the Reckfords, the Valets, the Montezes, the Conleys, the Ruizes. Thank you for always telling me reading and writing is important. So in high school, we are very heavy on English, both the grammar, the composition, the literature, the structure, all aspects of English. And I was able to, based on the recommendation of my parents and the school, to enter into a competition with the Rotary Club, one of those
Okay.
community-based organizations. And I won the competition. And from
Wow.
there,
And
I
how old were
just
you when
began
you
to
won that?
write, maybe 15, 15, maybe
15. Okay.
16. Yeah. And it was a huge competition. And from there, I knew I was even more comfortable with my writing ability. So from then on, I had the supreme, utmost confidence in terms of my writing skill from a technical point of view. Now, of course, there was room
Hmm.
for growth, Even right
Right,
now,
right.
as accomplished of a writer as I am, there's tons of room I can grow and more improvements I can do, nuances and technicalities and levels and words and different composition styles. However, the confidence in my own ability and skill was off the charts. And that was before I coupled my faith with my writing because they are
Mm,
intertwined. Because the Bible says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And what did
mm,
God do? Garden of Eden, God breathed into Adam. So
mm-hmm.
obviously, he put words to Adam. And if we are made in God's image, and if we are trying to be Christ like, then the least we can do is use the words that are within us that were given from God to help make the world a better
Wow.
place
Okay,
away from the
okay.
entire human
So
race. Get it?
I'm you said something which is like that's been on my mind. And you quoted that scripture. And I've been thinking about that. The whole in the beginning was the word was God, and the word was with God. Here's the thing that came to me in my journey, just in writing, is that God is the word. Literally, he's the word. So we create things with the word, like the very substance of God is word. Like that's all he is word. He framed the worlds with his words. Like he spoke us into
Exactly.
existence with his word. And if we can use our words, we're actually using God because nothing exists but by God, which is the word. And it doesn't matter. It's the word is a
Exactly.
created substance, is what I'm hearing. What's that?
Exactly.
You
And
broke
that is
up a
one of the
little bit.
reasons why I've always been a keen advocate for folks to recognize what they're listening to and what words they say,
Mm,
right?
right.
And two quick sidebars, and you can go with this wherever you want to. Number one, when it comes to words and music, this is the reason why music is such a powerful tool because it uses words to portray message. So when we have our culture, specifically the black culture, that uses words that degrades women, that promotes violence, that gives false sense of
Yeah.
ego and pride, and gives this entire vocabulary dedicated. Quick side note, I still have beef with the dictionary because bootylicious should never have entered the dictionary as a word. I still
What?
have problems with it. But
Shut up. That's in the
sidebar,
dictionary.
back to the main topic. Yes, sir. But the point was the words we use in our music influence our culture because we're using elements of godhood, of energy to create something. The second thing is when we use curse words, for example, or we call people out by their name or we ridicule someone, those words we throw at people is essentially like you're hitting a planet with a comet. And we know what happened
Yeah.
to the last planet that got hit by a comet. We lost all the
Right.
dinosaurs. So
Right.
the impact of our words are so powerful and so dangerous. I always say, one of my lines in one of my poems says, silence is golden. Should I say a simple sentence or put a seal on my lips?
Mm. Wow. Huh. Okay. When did that drop?
Well, when you
Are you hearing
write,
me?
and yeah, I can hear you. When you write, when you get into what you want to say, which is your purpose, you realize it's all connected, right? The way we
Yeah.
perceive the past, the way we perceive the future is all the same because the words can describe both events. Yesterday, I had a cheese sandwich. Tomorrow, I'm going to have a peanut butter sandwich. You have just used words to time travel between two periods, one that has happened already and one that is to come. And that's just a glimpse of the power of words. So
Mm.
when we choose silence as an option, we're indicating let it rest, let it breathe. We don't need to rush it. We can just be in the moment because silence is the present. And so once I tapped into what words mean, and once I allow myself to live in my divinity, to appreciate Jesus Christ as the King, to understand the Holy Spirit that He sent to be with us, to understand we need each other more than we think, right? We're all
Mm.
connected.
Mhm.
Once I realized that connectivity between someone who lives in Afghanistan and then someone who has not been born yet but will grow up in Alaska, right? Compared to a wild dog living in the outbacks of Australia. We are all connected. And once you recognize that fact, this becomes the easiest thing in the world because those distractions now don't matter anymore. Writer's block is not a thing. It's only a thing if you're not writing and working in your purpose. Because, of
Mm.
course, if you're not in your purpose, anything can derail you and throw you off track. But once you're in your
Wow.
purpose, it doesn't matter. You could be half asleep, you could be hungry, you could be tired, your fingers can be bleeding from the effort of holding the pen so long and writing, but the story, the concepts will still flow because you're tapped in and you're part of the connectivity we all have. Which brings us to a sidebar conversation again. What is
Mm.
evil, right?
Right.
When someone say, "Oh, this person is evil or a bad person," in the Bible it says we live and we treat each other as if we are treating our Savior Jesus Christ. So that means technically no one is evil or bad because they're all in a various state of grace or forgiveness or understanding. That's a hard concept and a bitter pill to swallow sometimes. However, the effort we put into understanding each other starts with understanding ourselves.
Wow. You are dropping nuggets. Okay. So the thing that just dropped that was so powerful was we are going from the past or from the present into the future by our words. Man, that, oh gosh. So
Correct.
it that is so good because even though we're not physically experiencing something, emotionally, energy wise, and feelings, we're experiencing. Whether I'm eating a cheese sandwich or whether I'm eating a peanut butter sandwich. If I say, yesterday I ate a peanut butter sandwich and tomorrow I'm going to eat a cheese sandwich, literally, I just did time travel and my taste buds and my mouth, my
Correct.
feelings, I'm already experiencing eating that cheese sandwich. And the thing is, because as gods, we don't even have to wait for quote unquote time on this earth to transpire. I could literally physically eat that cheese sandwich right now. And even when tomorrow comes, it's still right now. It's still right now. It's always now.
Exactly.
It's always now.
Exactly. Exactly. That's why
Wow.
some of our greatest minds, the scientists and the philosophers of the world, when you talk to them and you really have them break down science, mathematics, philosophy, neurons, how the body chemistry works, how evolution really happens, how different species interact, the cosmos, what we observe with a telescope and a microscope, majority of them have faith in a higher power. And that's a fact because there are too many things that require something to be in place. And there's too many things that if you change a variable, it's out of whack. So
Right.
now you're like, okay, this is a perfect system. The only thing imperfect is our journey to perfection or our journey to understand it. And that journey that we all are on, we have to be aware that some people are in different stages. Some people are further along, some people are further behind or next to, all relative, but we're all trying to get somewhere.
Wow.
So the
That's so good.
notion that we have to use our words correctly is the only notion that's important.
Right.
Words matter. When they say
Words
the
matter.
pen is mightier than the sword, it's not a physical combat, right? It's not a physical back and forth. It's that a weapon in the hand of an army is a powerful thing, yes, but the ability of the individual to write a story or an eyewitness account or to share their feelings or thoughts about the matter on a piece of paper and then share that or give it to someone is infinitely more powerful because the effect quadruples over and over and over. And that's
Wow. That's
why
so good.
when I was coming together with this entire concept of my brand, of what do I represent, the name The Right Warrior came up right away. And the reason
Hmm.
is, of course, you understand the writing part of it.
Right.
However, the warrior part of it, a lot of folks don't understand. I've never served in the military, but I have great respect for the work that they've done. And it's very
Right.
simple. You prepare for the war, but you pray for peace.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Prepare for war, but you pray for peace. Because real people understand we don't want no problems.
Right.
we
Exactly. We don't
don't
want no
want,
problems.
we just want to take our fishing rod, our tackle box, go down to a little fishing hole, fish, not catch anything. We're fine with that. Or we want to go take a walk down the wharf, enjoy the sunset or the sunrise with our spouse, with our boo thing, with the kids, and just chill. No one wants a problem. However, we do understand there's conflict. We do understand that there's some elements that might seek to harm our society and harm us. So we prepare. And I prepare with writing. I advocate for people understanding their story, understanding
Mm-hmm.
the industry, the technology. If you want to do a family memoir, you can. 15 years ago, you could not do a family memoir on your own.
Wow.
You'd have to hire
That's so crazy.
expert people. You would have to do different things, go to a publishing house, find a company. No more. No mass, as my abuelita would say. No mass. All you
Right.
need to
Yeah.
do is go online, do your research for a couple of hours, figure out what you want to publish, how you want it to look, then you go ahead
Boom.
and start pumping out your books. You
That's
know,
right. That's right. Man, that's powerful. We're going to take a quick break right here, sir, and we shall be right back. Acquire, master, and launch your vision today with Vision Writers USA. All right, everybody, we are back. We got Dwight Thompson out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, the Right Warrior, dropping knowledge on today. So if you haven't tuned in yet, if you're just tuning in, man, get ready, y'all. We got a few more. A little bit, few more minutes to go before we wrap it up. But if you're just joining, boom, you joined at the right time, baby. Bam. All right, sir. Thanks so much for being on the show. I got a couple questions that I want to drop to you. If we can run through those real quick, and a couple of those you already answered, which is pretty dope because you just right down in that lane. Um, so the first thing I want to ask is, how has writing changed or improved your life? If you could sum that up.
Oh, easy. Number one, communication. Communication is how we interact with other people and how we express ourselves. Whether in your 9 to 5, in your entrepreneurship, with your family, with strangers, the ability to write, to construct and formulate ideas and present them on paper allowed me to now have the same skill in a boardroom where I'm the only black
Mm,
person and the only male in a room of 20 something
mm.
people, where I'm in charge of a hurricane shelter, where we have National Guard, we have local residents, we have dogs, and someone brought in cockroaches from their home.
Oh wow.
Now I have to regulate and organize everyone. And the words you choose in the moment that you're in matter. So writing is your practice for speaking. Oh, that was good. I got to write that one down.
Okay.
Writing is your practice for speaking.
It really is. It really is. Man, that's so powerful. The next question is, can people be taught to be a good writer?
Oh, yeah. Come on now. Come on now. Of course they can.
All right.
Everyone has a poet within them. Everyone has a poet within them. If you don't think you can write poetry, try writing a haiku. Very simple. 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables, 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines. Mention nature and no rhyming. Anyone can do that. If not, tap in with me. I have courses and classes and Saturday morning writing sprints where all we do is writing prompts, poetry techniques. Oh, trust me, anyone can be taught to be a good writer. Plus, the more you read, the better your writing ability. You just got to figure out some of your internal conflicts and things holding you back. But that's a whole nother conversation and emotional unpacking we have to do with that one.
Right, right. Man, that's so good. All right. And my final question before we wrap it up, you're going to love this one. Boom. What made you become a Christian?
So that is one of the crises I mentioned, the crises of faith. So I became a Christian because that was my culture. Coming from the Caribbean, you're either Catholic or you're Pentecostal, you're Protestant, right? Or you're Baptist or Methodist or Anglican. However, growing up, I became exposed to Islam. I became exposed to Rastafarianism. I became exposed to Buddhism. And out of all of those, when I had my crisis of faith, I realized Christianity is the one for me. Because when I realized what God had done for me, how amazing Jesus is, and I've seen evidence for myself, so no one can dissuade me of that fact. And I'm not trying to persuade anyone either of the goodness of Christ. They will get to that conclusion on their own. But for me, when I saw the goodness, the love, the understanding, the peace that Christ brought into my life, I realized this is for me as a conscious decision. So I was introduced to Christianity as a boy, as a child. Then I made a conscious decision to follow Christianity as a teenager. Then I fortified that decision the older I got. It's hard to be a Christian was the name of the poem that I opened up with.
Wow. Very powerful. Very powerful. Um, one thing, not one thing, but tell everybody the best way to reach out to you, because I know somebody's probably going to check you out, go to your site. What's the best way for the audience to reach you?
Well, it's all about SEOs and SEMs, right? It's
Right?
all about branding. So, The Right Warrior on all platforms. If there's an app that I'm not on or have an account on with evergreen content, contact me, let me know. Linktree, Beacons. I'm on LinkedIn also, The Right Warrior. And if you look up my current book series, Pine Cones and Spaceships, that's right there. And Pivot is my main title, you'll find me. If not, just throw a pen in the air, and before it drops, I'll be there writing.
Got it. Wow. Brother, this was excellent. I appreciate you for just jumping on, sharing your story, sharing your knowledge, sharing your wisdom. What about, so you got one more poem in you before we wrap this up? You got one more? What you got?
My
All
life
right.
is a bomb. My life is a bomb. Five ring alarm. One, two, three, contact. I do you bodily harm. Do you catch where I'm coming from? As your life signs go critical, my hidden agenda becomes visible, physical, lyrical. My mission statement hit the pavement. If anybody asks, like FedEx, I was sent to leave a dent in this world like a impact crater. I see the world for what it is, a baby shower. However, I say you better run, son, before you get hit with the bullets from a gun ripped through you like blades of ninjutsu. My style got splayed as I rise into the blue. I don't need a crew. Express myself, switch tracks, mag train, spread love, bring life, blood vein. The pain was real when I felt the verbal daggers cut through my soul like a knife through cheese and crackers. The storm gathers and brews on your horizon. In the end, son, there can only be one. In the end, son, there can only be one. Salah. In the sanctum, protecting my peace through poetry, available wherever books can be found. Amazon, Barnes Nobles. It's National Poetry Month. Let's get it. If you have not written a poem today, please do so. Do a haiku, a free verse. Come on now. If you don't know how to write, start reading a book. Read a good book. It might just change your life.
Wow. Bars fire. Man, I appreciate it. That is our show for tonight. Make sure you all reach out to the Right Warrior on all platforms. He's got books, he's got classes, he's an entrepreneur, gospel poet. Invite him to come speak. Whatever you doing, just reach out. And again, I am Timothy Moore, aka the Clarity Doctor. This is Hear My Voice, platform for artists to share their vision, their voice, and their story. And we will see you all next time on Hear My Voice.